Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning. Good morning.
I hope you can hear me. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good
today.
morning. We can hear you.
Good morning. We can start. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, members of the group of Friends of Water, let me start by welcoming you all to the virtual meeting of the group of Friends of Water. Hopefully, next time the group meets, we will be able to meet in person. Before I move to our today's exciting agenda, and most importantly to our distinguished speakers, I would like to briefly inform you about the group itself, since we might have some of our new colleagues joining the meeting today. The group of Friends of Water was founded in 2010 at the initiative of the Permanent Mission of Tajikistan, with the support of the Permanent Mission of Switzerland, Finland, Hungary, and Thailand. Today, the steering committee of the group consists of 17 members. The group is a diverse and informal group which comprises of almost 60 countries that attach high priority to water issues. The group continues to primarily serve as a forum for informal discussions. Its meetings and side events often do not only advocate for a stronger water agenda, but also serve as a first sounding board for new ideas and sensitive issues. In the spirit of openness and transparency, and with the aim of raising awareness of the issues as broadly as possible. Friends of Water meetings and side events have frequently been open to all delegations. So this is in a nutshell about the group. Dear colleagues, it's a great group to join if you would like to stay up to date with the latest water-related news and initiatives. Also, if you have any water-related issues to discuss, this is a platform to use. Dear colleagues, now I would like to turn to our today's agenda. As you can see, we have a number of prominent speakers that accepted our invitation to join us today and enrich our discussion. Without further ado, I would like to invite His Excellency Courtney Rattray, USG High Representative for LLDCs and SITs, to take the floor. Ambassador Courtney Rattray, as a former PR of Jamaica to the UN, had contributed a lot in advancing the SDG 6 and other water-related goals at the UN, but also globally, including during the Dushanbe International Water Conferences. But today we have invited him in his new capacity to share with us the perspectives from the countries in special situation. So it is my pleasure to give the floor to Mr. USG. The floor is yours, Mr. Ambassador.
Well, thank you, my dear friend, Johnny Beck Hikmat, Permanent Representative of Tajikistan to the United Nations. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it's a real pleasure for me to join with you this morning. And I thank Ambassador Hikmat and the group of Friends of Water for their kind invitation. As we have just heard, yes, my office advocates for three groups of vulnerable countries, namely the LDCs, the LLDCs, and the Small Island Developing States. These three groups collectively represent 91 member states with a combined population of 1.3 billion people. This accounts for about 16% of the global population. However, and unfortunately, I should say, they lag behind our collective ambition to ensure universal access to water and sanitation by 2030. The latest data that we have show that 68% of the population in landlocked developing countries had access to basic drinking water services. For the LDCs, this figure is 67%, and it's 83% in small island developing states. Now, this 83% may appear relatively high, in terms of SIDS access to basic drinking water services, but it lags behind the global average of 90%. Estimates for the population in vulnerable countries that use safely managed drinking water services are even lower, at less than 40% in both the LDCs and LLDCs. With regards to sanitation, again, these nations are much too far behind. Last year, only 43% of the population in LLDCs had access to basic sanitation services. The figure was 36% in LDCs and 68% in SIDS. And again, this is in the context of a world average of 93%. So, I mean, colleagues, these numbers are nothing short of stark. But they're not just numbers. They reflect the millions of people without access to the most basic condition of living. The data, I think, is revealing, but it does hide disparities between countries and regions, as well as between urban and rural areas. Large parts of the population in these vulnerable countries do not have access to safely managed drinking water services. Women and girls, I think, suffer disproportionately as they spend a lot of time fetching water, which occupies a significant portion of their day. They therefore have less time and consequently earn less money, time that would be much better invested in meaningful work or in attending school. I don't need to tell you that water is fundamental to delivering almost all of the SDGs: global health, food security, industrialization, renewable electricity generation, connecting countries to seaports for their international trade, and obviously fighting the COVID-19 pandemic and indeed other infectious diseases. In fact, almost every development challenge before us is related to today's agenda. The provision of safe and clean sources of water is a necessity for human survival and, in fact, a right to development. And yet, water stress is increasing in many parts of the world. Growing demands, poor management, and climate change are all adding more pressure. Landlocked developing countries are among the most water-stressed countries on the planet. Many of these countries are located in dry regions, and their water challenges are exacerbated by climate change, desertification, drought, and land degradation, as well as water-related natural hazards. However, the good news, I mean, this is a dire picture I'm painting, I know, but the good news is that there are solutions to increase access. They do exist. Water harvesting, conservation strategies, integrated water resource management, and desalination technologies, these can all play a greater role. Scaling up such initiatives, I think, is important for reaching the SDGs and for combating the climate crisis, to say nothing of preventing water-related conflicts and building lives of dignity for all. However, vulnerable countries need continued strong support from their development partners, both in the North and South, in order to complement both their national efforts and regional collaboration. Enhanced support is required in the provision of financing and sustainable water technologies. Greater efforts are also needed to mobilize key stakeholders. We must ensure that they contribute to efforts to increase access to water and sanitation in these vulnerable countries. And so I commend the government of Tajikistan for its efforts in supporting the Water Action Decade, that decade from 2018 that runs through to 2028. They've been doing this at the global level, as well as exercising leadership on issues of climate change. The Water Conference in 2023, I think, is an important opportunity for the international community. The conference will help promote dialogue, facilitate the exchange of experiences and best practices, and foster partnerships towards achieving the water-related SDGs. So in closing, let me assure you, dear colleagues, that my office, the UN OHR LLS, will continue to support your efforts to enhance access to water and sanitation for all. Thank you so much, Johnny Beck, again for this invitation to address colleagues in this forum.
I thank His Excellency for his statement and also for highlighting the important water-related issues, challenges pertaining to the LDCs, LLDCs, and SITs. And thank once again, Mr. Ambassador, for joining us today and sharing your views. Now I turn to the next speaker on my list. Unfortunately, Mr. Okumbo, Chair of the UN Water, due to unforeseen circumstances at the very last moment, had to cancel his attendance, but we have Ms. Kelly Ann Naylor, Vice Chair of UN Water, here with us, representing him today. Therefore, I would like to invite Ms. Kelly Ann Taylor to deliver her remarks.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, Excellencies, and dear friends of water. In my role as Vice Chair of UN Water, it gives me a great pleasure to be here with you today on behalf of our Chair, Mr. Gilbert Humbo. And I'd really like to thank the steering committee of the Group of Friends of Water for this invitation and wish you a happy Global Hand Washing Day. In March of this year, many of you may be aware that the UN Water Integrated Monitoring Initiative for SDG 6 launched a summary progress update on the SDG 6 indicators. And this was a main input into the meeting that many of us participated in, which was the high-level meeting on water convened by the President of the General Assembly. And today I wanted to share with you an infographic in a brief summary of the indicators and key numbers that are in this SDG 6 update. So also would like to start first with the good news, which is that the past 20 years have been a time of progress, and certainly billions of people have transformed their lives by having their human right to water and sanitation fulfilled. We do see positive signs that global leaders and other sectors are realizing how SDG 6 is absolutely critical to food security, economic growth, education, gender equality, sustainability, and environmental protection. And also for the first time, we actually have water and sanitation data from almost all of the countries in the world. But the bad news that we've seen from this progress report is that we are very off track to meet this vital goal. And just now I'm going to start and go through a few of the key statistics by target within the SDG 6 goal. And so the first one is, I think, a big number that many of us are familiar with, that billions of people worldwide still live without safely managed drinking water and sanitation. And as was so clearly pointed out by the High Representative, this is really facing rural areas and least developed countries. In July this year, WHO and UNICEF launched the new Joint Monitoring Program report. It does report some positive progress in the overall coverage. The global population with safely managed drinking water at home has increased from 70 to 74%. Safely managed sanitation services have expanded from 47 to 54% of coverage, and hand washing facilities with soap and water has increased from 67 to 71%. But looking at this rate of progress, we've been able to project it to 2030, and it is still too little and still too slow. The current rate of progress must quadruple to reach the global target of universal access by 2030. Turning now to looking at wastewater and water quality for the few countries, and this is an area where we have significant data gaps, but for the few countries that report data, which are mostly high-income countries, we see that more than 90% of household wastewater is safely treated in 1/4 of the countries, and that more than 60% of water bodies have good quality in 2/3 of the countries. However, the reporting countries certainly don't represent the global situation, and the lack of water quality data means that over 3 billion people are at risk because the health of their river, lakes, and groundwater is simply unknown. Water use has stayed mostly stable at the global level during the last 10 years, but stark regional differences persist. In some regions, the level of water stress has increased by more than a third during the last 2 decades, and many countries withdraw all their renewable water resources or even continue to rely on non-renewable resources that will run dry. When it comes to integrated water resources management, the current rate of progress needs to double to meet the global targets. Only 2 SDG regions are on track to have all their transboundary water bodies covered by cooperation agreements, and 1/5 of the world's river basins are experiencing rapid changes as floods and droughts due to climate change. And last but not least, while the official development assistance commitments to the water sector increased overall by 9% to US $11.4 billion between 2015 and 2019, the actual disbursements have showed little change, and more of the overall ODA is being dispersed as loans. Only 14 out of 109 countries report having high levels of participation by communities in water and sanitation decision-making. Excellencies, COVID-19 makes clear our common destiny and also our shared vulnerability. Yet this extraordinary event also offers us an invaluable chance to build better forward, including ramping up our efforts to get on track to deliver SDG 6 on water and sanitation for all and other SDGs by 2030. We have a great opportunity with the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework to come together and mobilize action from all stakeholders. And just to say, on the occasion of Global Handwashing Day today, UNICEF and WHO launched the State of the World Hand Hygiene Report, which uses the 5 accelerators to make a global call to action to make hand hygiene a priority in policy and practice. And this was inspired by the State of the World Sanitation Report launched last year on World Toilet Day, in the event that was convened by the permanent missions of Singapore, India, and Nigeria. Before I give back the floor to Ambassador Hikmat, I just wanted to really briefly mention that our next World Water Day will be the 22nd of March, 2022. And the theme will be groundwater making the invisible visible. Just to say, groundwater provides almost half of all the drinking water worldwide, 40% of water for irrigated agriculture, and about 1/3 of the water supply for industry. Groundwater management is also an important part of climate change adaptation. But despite these impressive figures and huge impact on our water use globally, groundwater is really invisible and out of sight and mind for most people. So we really count on your support and engagement and the upcoming preparation for World Water Day events. The social media campaigns and website will be going strong as usual. And the next UN Water Development Report will be released, UN World Water Development Report will be released on the 22nd of March to focus on making recommendations for policy direction to decision makers on groundwater. So we look forward to engaging with you. And once again, thank you for this opportunity to join you today, and back over to you, Ambassador Hikmat. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kellyanne Naylor, for your remarks and for your brief presentation of 2021 Global Status of Water and ongoing preparation for the World Water Day in 2022. Indeed, despite some progress on SDG 6, we are lagging behind in many other areas. Therefore, I believe we need to use all opportunities to mobilize actions. And thank you very much for indicating the theme for the next World Water Day, to which we should align all our engagement. Dear colleagues, now we shall move to our next agenda item, titled towards UN 2023 Water Conference. For those who do not know, the mandate of organizing the first UN Water Conference after almost 50 years in 2023 comes from the UNGA resolution 73/226, which was unanimously adopted by all the member states. The resolution 75/212 welcomed the generous offer by the government of Tajikistan and the Kingdom of the Netherlands to co-host the conference. Tajikistan and Netherlands, as a co-host of this important conference, have taken the implementation of the mandates of the resolution very seriously, and together with the UN Department for Economic and Social Affairs and UN Water have been cooperating very fruitfully and organized and participated in several events. Preparatory process is well underway. A number of regional preparatory meetings were held this year. Some will be convened next year. As a committed co-host, we in constant talks with other member states and regional groups, as well as other stakeholders, to make sure that all are collected before we head to 2023 conference. I have said enough. I will stop here and let people who are actually doing the main work related to the preparatory process of the 2023 water conference speak. Therefore, I would like to thank Mr. Henk Owing, the Special Envoy for International Water Affairs for the Netherlands, and Mr. Sultan Rahim Soda, the Special Envoy of the President of Tajikistan on Water Affairs, as well as Mr. Louis Mina, the Secretary General, who is also the Secretary General of the conference, for accepting the group invitation to brief the UN membership about the 2023 conference and its preparatory process. May I remind you that we will have a Q&A session right after this briefing. Therefore, those of you who wish to speak or pose questions to our briefers, please indicate so in the chat box. Without further ado, I now invite Mr. Henk Owing to deliver his statement. The floor is yours, Mr. Owing.
Thank you very much for your words of welcome, dear Jonny Beck, Your Excellency, Jonny Beck Hikmat, and Your Excellency, Courtney Rattray, and of course, Kellyanne Naylor, for addressing this. Also, thank you all for being here, Your Excellency. It's a pleasure and honor to be able to talk with you about the UN 2023 Water Conference. Happy Hand Washing Day today, only 2 days after International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. It only reiterates that putting water highest on the agenda is not only of critical importance for all everywhere, but also every day. I'm very excited to brief you on the UN 2023 Water Conference, together with our co-host, good friends, and my dear friend and colleague Sultan Rahimzoda, and the Secretary General of the conference, Liu Jimin. In the run-up to 2023, Tajikistan and the Netherlands, as co-host of the conference, will go all out to encourage member states to prepare ambitiously towards 2023 and to utilize the UN 2023 Water Conference as the nearly once-in-a-lifetime opportunity it is to announce and declare our collective ambitions for a better world, a water-secure world. Water is a fundamental component that integrates social, cultural, economic, and political values. Water is inextricably linked to the pillars of sustainable development. It is cross-cutting and supports the achievement of many SDGs through close linkages with climate, energy, cities, the environment, food security, poverty, gender equality, and health, amongst others. With the impact of climate change profoundly hampering our economies and societies, water is indeed the biggest deal maker and breaker. The UN 2023 Water Conference provides us therefore with a unique opportunity to deal with water-related issues in a comprehensive and inclusive manner. The modalities resolution is clear about what kind of outcome document the conference will have. There will be a summary of the proceedings of the conference. And since there is no negotiated outcome document, this preparatory process is of the utmost importance. As co-host, we therefore strive to bring together countries and stakeholders that will present their concrete plans, agreements, and actions through voluntary commitments and partnership, And we strive to support an action agenda for change in the way societies use, allocate, and value water. We need concrete commitments that create impact to research, capacity building, policy, partnerships, programs, projects, investments, and so forth. To set a clear agenda for 2023 towards 2030, while promoting a longer-term approach and perspective beyond going beyond 2030. As co-host of the conference, we will encourage broad stakeholder engagement that is truly participatory and inclusive. Identifying champions, promote the Water Action Decade, connecting the water agenda with other themes and processes and the 2030 agenda, building on the UNSG Water Action Decade Plan, the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework, and all the outcomes of the crucial stepping stones events in Germany, Singapore, Senegal, Portugal, Egypt, Japan, and many, many more. The conference will be about a comprehensive midterm review of the Water Action Decade and encourage information sharing, support initiatives of all relevant stakeholders, and make non-water sectors see water as the key to sustainable development. We want to nurture a trickling down effect to create and support initiatives, partnerships, and actions that can be announced during the conference to push for systemic change, demand action, and provide accountability. It should work as a water movement, becoming bigger and broader over time, and serve as a catalyst also after the conference. Because in the end, we all have to fundamentally understand, value, and manage water better and take concerted action. Thus, water can be our best resource and driver for collaboration, replication, and scaling up actions. From the world, from the UN member states, we need not only buy-in, we need proactive commitments and concerted actions from a broad coalition on all levels around the globe. And that is why Tajikistan and the Netherlands, as co-host of this wonderful opportunity, aim for a process that is inclusive, cross-sectoral, and action-oriented. We need member states to protect, nurture, and support coalitions forged, opportunities identified, and promises made that can lead to impactful results. Replication and scaling up, ensuring that 2023 is indeed the springboard for catalyzing action for water security for all. We should aim for a global vision on water, a water pact 2023 of some kind, a pact that takes into account the critical role of water in sustainable development and the eradication of poverty and hunger, a pact that incorporates water, ecosystems, energy, food security, and nutrition, that they're all linked, and that water is indispensable for health, well-being, and human development, including the empowerment of women and girls. A pact that supports further action, including international cooperation, to accelerate the achievement of the internationally agreed water-related goals and targets, including those contained in the 2030 Agenda, and promote the implementation of the objectives of the decade. Building on the Water Action Decade and initiatives like the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework, we need integrated approaches, partnerships, and a long-term strategy in order to achieve real and sustainable progress. Approaching water in an integrated, comprehensive, less fragmented way can ensure existing finance is targeted effectively. Decisions are based on comprehensive information, knowledge and expertise on technology, as well as governance is shared between sectors, once unlikely partners, stakeholders, and countries. This Pact 2023 could be the bold direction to test and tease, to provoke and spark a debate about what we as collective member states really think 2023 should be about. We cannot circle around the hottest topic on Earth anymore. That time is gone. We know it, so we must acknowledge our responsibility and act upon it collectively. In 2023, we as UN member states have the opportunity to announce to the world our successful initiatives and commitments, our contribution to our sustainable future. The Netherlands and Tajikistan, as co-host of the conference, will strive to make the conference a watershed moment for the world. We also need you to let us know what you need from the UN 2023 Water Conference and how we as co-host can contribute to your ambitions. I want to thank you very much. I look forward to an ongoing conversation and partnership and collaboration towards 2023. And I want to hand back the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Yonibek Hikmat. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Olving for his detailed presentation and his clarification regarding the mandates of the resolution. He raised many important points during his presentation. I cannot agree more that we as a member states need to prepare ambitiously towards 2023 conference and to utilize the UN 2023 Water Conference and announce and declare our collective ambitions for a better world. The opportunities should not be missed. Now I turn to Mr. Sultan Rahim Zoda and invite to deliver his statement.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Excellencies, honorable ambassadors, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to attend this meeting and jointly with my colleague, Mr. Henko Wing, and His Excellency, Mr. Liu Zhenmin, USG for Economic and Social Affairs, and the Secretary General of the conference to brief distinguished representatives of the member states on preparation toward the UN 2023 Water Conference. Thank you, Mr. Henko Wing, who has already mentioned some of the key aspects of the conference and its preparatory process, why the conference is important, what is needed, what are the main goals and expected outcomes of the conference, and etc. And the message is clear, that the conference will provide an excellent opportunity to all of us to create a watershed moment to raise the profile of water to the new level of attitude, understanding, and valuing. In my presentation, I would like to focus your attention on what steps we should take to make the preparatory process inclusive, cross-sectoral, and action-oriented, and the conference itself successful. Of course, it is not an easy task, since there are different challenges, visions, opportunities, and capacities among the member states, different stakeholders, sectors, regions, major groups, and etc. Tajikistan and the Netherlands, as co-chairs of this conference, join hands to better organize and facilitate this process. But it will be very difficult to materialize it without valuable support of the member states. That's why the UNGA resolution on modalities of the conference also welcomes the contribution from other existing water-related meetings that may serve to provide input to the preparatory process and invite member states to organize meetings to fit into the midterm comprehensive review. To achieve this, co-hosts intend to set up formal and informal dialogues, exchanges, and procedures. The formal process through the preparatory meetings, regional events, and interactive dialogues will provide the stage to all member states and specialized agencies to announce and confirm the ideas, plans, and commitments to achieve the change we envision. For the formal process, we see the need to make use of supporting platforms and avenues that give the opportunity for all relevant stakeholders to provide input and be actively heard. These supporting activities can consist of multiple processes and initiatives with different initiators and leaders. The platform provided by the Group of Friends of Water and other relevant panels, groups, fora, such as the Water and Climate Coalition and others, can be utilized in this regard. This interaction between the formal process and supportive activities will strengthen not only the diversity of the voices and the inclusive capacity of the conference, but also help build momentum and awareness and create ownership across many actors, sectors, and regions. This is of critical importance to ensure impact on the longer term and secure consistency, continuity, and commitment to follow through on the outcomes of the conference. We already prepared the roadmap, which includes the events mentioned in the modalities resolution, including the Dushanbe conference in 2022, the Bonn dialogues held in July this year, a high-level symposium on water during the UN Ocean Conference in Portugal, the Asia-Pacific Water Summit, the 9 World Water Forum in Senegal. And it is a living document which will be periodically updated with new events to be organized by co-hosts, member states, and other stakeholders to feed into the preparatory process. The roadmap will be used to discuss the agenda to ensure the preparation and the outcomes of these meetings are linked with and feed into the 2023 process to unite the voice of water and beyond. In the roadmap, we will also include key upcoming events outside the water sector, like, for example, COPs, economic forums, where different sectors meet and ensure water has a voice as these events. To develop a new, strong, positive, and overarching narrative about water and the UN 2023 Water Conference, the communication strategy is being developed, which will also help us to promote a holistic and synergetic narrative and approach that puts water at the heart of the 2030 agenda. The stakeholders engagement plan has been prepared to involve all relevant stakeholders in the preparatory process to make it inclusive. Dear friends, let me using this opportunity to talk about the second Dushanbe Water Decade Conference, which per modalities resolution is an important stepping stone in the preparatory process toward the UN 2023 Water Conference. This is the second conference among biennial conferences hosted by Tajikistan as a part of its contribution to the advancement of the Water Action Decade's objectives. These conferences are known among the water family as Dushanbe Water Process. The International Advisory Committee, involving the eminent experts from the partner governments, UN agencies, international and regional institutions, non-governmental organizations, and other stakeholders, has been established to help the government of Tajikistan to facilitate an inclusive preparation for the decade conferences, as well as to develop their comprehensive program and outcome documents. The International Steering Committee of the Group of Friends of Water are also engaged in this process, providing valuable input through their commitments, suggestions, and recommendations on the preparation of the Dushanbe Water Decade conferences. I'm co-chairing the International Advisory Committee of the Dushanbe Water Process on behalf of Tajikistan. And taking this opportunity, I would like to thank distinguished members of the Steering Committee and the group as a whole for their support and great contribution into this process. The second Dushanbe conference will focus on how the governments, the UN and its entities, international and regional organizations, financial institutions, civil society, and other stakeholders can catalyze water action and partnerships to contribute to the implementation of water-related goals and targets of the 2030 agenda at all levels. As an important stepping stone in the preparation to the UN 2023 Water Conference, the Dushanbe Conference will provide also an opportunity to assess progress in the implementation of the first half of the decade and to identify obstacles and constraints which will help us to launch new actions and initiatives toward the UN 2023 Water Conference and beyond. The program structure of the conference program developed by the advisory committee members has already been adopted by the government of Tajikistan, and we have started detailing the sessions and other events of the conference, as well as thinking on the outcomes. So we will appreciate the input of the group of Friends of Water in this process, and taking this opportunity, kindly invite all member states to actively participate in the conference. The official invitations to the governments, UN agencies, international organizations, and other stakeholders will be sent by the end of this year. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the world is off track to achieve SDG 6 and other water-related goals. The efforts should not be doubled, but quadrupled to achieve their success. The UN 2023 Water Conference will help us to create momentum and accelerate progress. Expectation of the world community is very high from it. The conference is hope for many of us, but it is also our responsibility to use it in proper manner to make it watershed moment. Let's join our efforts, take commitments, and put actions on the ground to make this happen. We as co-chairs are committed to work hard in this process and invite you, dear member states, to join us in this important mission. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sultan Rahimzoda, for your valuable contribution and providing a detailed information about 2022 Dushanbe Water Process Conference, as well as elaborating on the opportunities coming from both informal and formal platforms of the 2023 conference preparatory process. As many of you, dear colleagues, and the Secretary General is currently in China for Sustainable Transport Conference. Therefore, he could not join us online, but we have his video recorded message. I ask my colleagues to play it for us.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to join this meeting of the Group of Friends of Water to brief member states on the United Nations 2023 Water Conference. Preparations for this important conference, which will take place in New York from March 22 to 24, 2023, come at a time when the world is struggling to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Hand washing remains one of the most effective ways to stop its spread. Yet, far too many have no access to clean water. Billions of people worldwide still live without safely managed drinking water and sanitation. Over half of the population in rural areas lack hand washing facilities. Untreated wastewater and agricultural runoff pose threats to environmental water quality. Some regions rely heavily on non-renewable water resources that will eventually run out. Indeed, the world is not on track to meet the water-related SDGs and targets by 2030. Estimates show that quadruple rates of progress are immediately required. Distinguished participants, the General Assembly in 2018 decided to convene the UN Conference on Midterm Comprehensive Review of the Water Action Decade. The General Assembly adopted in 2020 the modalities of the conference. This midterm review also coincides with the midterm review of the Sunday framework, thus bringing important synergies to each other. Indeed, the 2030 agenda, the Paris Agreement, and the Sunday framework are closely interlinked through the midterm of water. In May this year, Secretary General Antonio Guterres appointed me as the Secretary General of the Water Conference to serve as a focal point within the Secretariat for providing support to the organization of the conference. At the Secretariat of the Conference, the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, in collaboration with the UN Water, is supporting the Coast to Coast, Tajikistan, and Netherlands in its preparatory process. On this occasion, I would like to thank the government of the Netherlands and Germany for providing generous support to the Secretariat. The three-day conference will comprise opening and closing ceremony, 6 plenary meetings, and 5 interactive dialogues to be held in parallel with the plenary meetings. The plenary meetings will be devoted to statements from member states, international organizations, major groups, and other stakeholders. A list of speakers will be established on a first-come, first-served basis with customary protocol. Detailed arrangements will be communicated in a timely manner through a note by the Secretariat. The interactive dialogues will be collaborative and multi-stakeholder in nature, with a due regard for gender and geographical balance. Each 3-hour interactive dialogue will include a panel discussion followed by interactive debate among member states and other relevant stakeholders. In addition, the side events will be organized by participants. A wide range of stakeholder engagements will be also announced on the conference website. The outcome document of the conference will be a summary of the conference proceedings prepared by the President of the UN General Assembly. The following 2 conference documents will be prepared by the Secretariat. First will be the UN Secretary General's report on the progress in the first half of the Water Action Decade. This report will be submitted to the 77th session of the UN General Assembly. The second will be a background note for the one-day preparatory meeting organized by the President of the General Assembly by November 2022. Based on this note, the preparatory meeting will finalize the themes of 5 interactive dialogues. After themes are finalized, member states and other stakeholders will be asked to join the preparatory process of concerned dialogues as a mandate. As you are aware, the conference is preceded by a number of regional and global preparatory meetings. The first such meeting was a high-level meeting on water, convened by the President of the General Assembly this past March. Other meetings and conferences have been initiated by member states to build momentum and to enrich discussions at the 2023 Water Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, in his landmark report, Our Common Agenda, the UN Secretary General Guterres re-emphasized global solidarity. He called for urgent and bold steps to address the triple crisis of climate disruption, biodiversity loss, and pollution. A shift to a green economy is estimated to yield a direct economic gain of $26 trillion through 2030, compared with the business as usual. The UN 2023 Water Conference can become a game changer, packed with actions and commitments towards a greener, safer, and a better society. I look forward to the active participation of all member states and a wide range of stakeholders. My department, UNDESA, with the support of UN Water, stand ready to assist co-hosts Tajikistan and Netherlands to deliver a successful and impactful conference. I thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his video message. Indeed, the world is not in track to reach SDG 6 by 2030. That's why concerted actions is needed, and platforms such as 2023 Water Conference should be fully utilized. Dear colleagues, our briefing would be incomplete if we do not hear the main messages coming from the regional preparatory meetings of the 2023 conference. It's gratifying to know that some of the member states already started implementing mandates of Resolution 73/226 and 75/212, and convened in their esteemed countries those regional preparatory meetings. To this end, let me invite Her Excellency Ms. Antje Lien-Derstier, the permanent representative of Germany to the UN, as our next speaker, to talk about a high-level conference on SDG 6, which was organized on the margins of Born Water Dialogues. Taking this opportunity, I would like to congratulate her on assuming her role as a new PR of Germany to the UN and welcome her to the group of Friends of Water. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair, for congratulating and welcoming me. Dear colleagues, friends of water, I'm very happy and honored to be able to brief you on the outcome of the high-level meeting Bonn Water Dialogues for results. We had this at the 1st of July this year. And of course, it was part of the global preparatory process to the UN Water Decade Conference in 2023. The meeting was actually preceded by a comprehensive dialogue process with UN member states from all regions and relevant international stakeholders. We had one aim, of course, to identify actions on the local, national, and international level to accelerate the implementation of the water-related goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda. I'm glad to report that the meeting enjoyed contributions from 43 high-level speakers and was followed online by over 3,000 viewers from 87 countries. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the member states who participated in the Bonn Water Dialogues for their dedication and outstanding support. Moreover, I of course would like to thank the Netherlands and Tajikistan as the co-hosts of the 2030 conference, the Regional Economic Commission of the UN, as well as the African Ministers' Council on Water for their close cooperation in establishing strong synergies between all milestones of the 2023 preparatory process. The Bonn Water Dialogues are proof that a comprehensive in-depth dialogue is key for addressing global water challenges, and talking water for 3 hours every 4 years in the framework of the high-level political forum is simply not enough. The multi-stakeholder and multi-regional engagement of the Bonn Water Dialogues allowed for the joint formulation of concrete policy recommendations, such as the establishment of a UN Special Envoy on Water. These messages have so far received the official support of 50 UN member states and also from multiple international organizations. I would like to encourage all remaining member states to join us and to carry the outcomes of the Bonn Water Dialogues forward. Dear colleagues and friends of water, this year in the third committee, Germany together with Spain will again table the resolution on the human rights to safe drinking water and sanitation. In a year that has seen extreme weather conditions, droughts, floodings, and other events related to climate change, it's all the more important to emphasize that safe drinking water is a human right. We count on the support of the members of this group to put forward a strong resolution this year, which highlights also the importance of safe drinking water and sanitation for preventing the spread of infectious diseases and fight the COVID-19 pandemic. With regard to the 2023 UN Water Decade Conference, Germany would like to emphasize the necessity of integrating the two most important UN initiatives on water, namely the Water Action Decade and the Global SDG 6 Acceleration Framework as crucial instruments to get the water-related goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda back on track. Germany therefore supports the idea of structuring the interactive dialogue of the conference along the lines of the 5 global SDG 6 accelerators, while also allowing a cross-sectoral perspective that acknowledges the multiple interlinkages between water and sustainable development as a whole. We look forward to the mandated consultations to be convened by the Secretary General of the conference in this regard. And of course, finally, the 2023 UN Water Conference itself is our unique opportunity to mobilize all stakeholders and create political momentum to accelerate action for the achievement of SDG 6+. In this regard, we invite cordially, but also urgently, the Secretary General of the conference to organize this important event in a way to allow for concrete and clear outcomes to feed into the 2023 high-level political forum, proposing necessary actions until 2030 and beyond, building on the contributions of the conference's preparatory process. I thank you for the attention.
I thank Her Excellency for her remarks. And now I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Burhan Ghafoor, the permanent representative of Singapore to the UN. I would like to invite him to talk about the preparatory meeting for the midterm review of the Water Action Decade, which was held in Singapore. The floor is yours, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Johnny Beck Hikmat. It's very good to be in the company of the Group of Friends on Water. Indeed, Singapore was honored to co-convene together with Tajikistan the Asia-Pacific Regional Preparatory Meeting for the midterm review of the Water Action Decade. And this regional meeting was held in June, 25th of June, on the sidelines of the Singapore International Water Week. And I want to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, the Foreign Minister of Tajikistan, Mr. Sirajuddin Muhyiddin, who co-chaired the meeting together with the Singapore Minister for Sustainability and the Environment, Ms. Grace Fu. We had a very fruitful and engaging discussion at the regional meeting, and the theme of the meeting was implementing SDG 6 and the Water Action Decade partnerships to build water resilience. And the focus of the meeting was to explore how partnerships are a key enabler to building water resilience, security, and sustainability. And there was a lot of opportunities for interactive dialogue where participants had the opportunity to engage a diverse mix of panelists from the private sector, international and regional financial institutions, governments, and of course, UN officials. Let me highlight 3 key areas that were discussed during the regional meeting. The first issue relates to the need to strengthen cooperation at all levels, notably at the regional level, in order to overcome the global challenges relating to water and to build water resilience. And one example that was highlighted was a set of guidelines on urban water demand management, which Singapore had prepared for collaboration with other countries in our own region in ASEAN. And this initiative on urban water demand management is part of the ASEAN Strategic Plan of Action on Water Resources Management. And this highlights, in our view, the importance of regional cooperation to strengthen water resilience. The second point that emerged during the regional consultations in Singapore was the need to leverage innovative technologies to build water security. And technology development requires close collaboration among various stakeholders, especially private sector entities and also multilateral organizations, because ultimately governments have to work with all stakeholders who have the necessary expertise and technology in order to enhance water efficiency, rainwater harvesting, as well as wastewater recycling, which is a very important issue in our region. The third message is that the meeting underlined the importance of engaging in multi-stakeholder partnerships to impart the value of water to all communities. And I'm very gratified to learn that this theme of multi-stakeholder partnerships is consistent with what has been discussed at the Bonn meeting. I believe this need to work with multi-stakeholders is probably cutting across all regions. And in that regard, we were very happy at our regional meeting to work with international organizations, UN Water, of course, and I take this opportunity to thank Kellyanne Naylor, as well as Gilbert Hongbao and his team for all the work that they do. And of course, the Secretariat, UN DESA, as well as UNICEF, they are all very important parts of the multi-stakeholder approach. The regional preparatory meeting in Singapore adopted a summary of discussions, and this summary will be submitted as the Asia Pacific region's contributions to the Dushanbe Water Decade Conference, which is going to be held in June 2022, as well as to the 2023 UN conference in March 2023. I want to say that Singapore remains very much committed to working towards the success of the UN conference in March 2023. Next year, Singapore will host again the Singapore International Water Week, SIWW as it is called, from 17 to 21 April 2022. And we hope that this will be an in-person event. Before the pandemic, the Singapore International Water Week attracted about 25,000 participants. I'm not sure we will have the same number of participants for 2022, but certainly with all your participation, we hope that we will return to some degree of normalcy with an in-person meeting in Singapore. And the Singapore meeting will focus on a few key issues. 1, climate impact on urban water systems. 2, resource recovery and decarbonization. 3, digital transformation of smart utilities. And 4, building resilience against sea level rise. So if there's any interest with regard to the Singapore International Water Week in 2022, please do reach out to me or my colleagues at my mission. We look forward to working with all of you to make the 2023 conference a great success. Thank you very much, Johnny Beck.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Burhan, Permanent Representative of Singapore. We are looking forward for another successful Singapore International Water Week. Next on my speaker, His Excellency Mr. Sheikh Yang, Permanent Representative of Senegal. I kindly ask him to talk about the upcoming 9th World Water Forum. You have the floor, Your Excellency.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair and dear Johnny Beck, for giving me the floor and inviting Senegal to be part of this very important meeting. My intervention will consist in sharing with you 4 quick slides. And so let me start now with slide number 1. And as you know, which is my intervention related to the 9th World Water Forum, which will be held in Dakar from March 21st to March 26, 2022. And the theme is Water Security for Peace and Development. So slide number 1. I'm honored and happy to have this opportunity to introduce to you the forum I have talked about. And as you know, the forum has been rescheduled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Its main theme will be, as I mentioned, water security for peace and development. The ambition of Senegal and of the World Water Council is to have a more effective and pragmatic forum, socially, politically, and economically. And we are aiming at having a forum that is a catalyst for action on water and sanitation international commitments. We want a forum that is connected to agendas, to platforms and commitments related to the SDGs, to the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, the Paris Agreement, Africa's 2063 Agenda, etc. And we also want a contextualized global and grassroots forum, which is anchored on the main water challenges around the world. So slide number 2. This is why in Senegal we are trying to make sure that we can draw on international water and development agendas and try to identify the priorities. And those priorities, we have listed them and we have prioritized 4 of them. And those priorities are: first, water security and sanitation; second, cooperation; third, water for rural development; and number 4, fourth priority is means and tools. Slide number 3. The forum is intended to be an inclusive multi-stakeholder process with all stakeholders involved in the working groups, structured around the 4 priorities I have just mentioned, and we'll try to find sustainable solutions to water-related challenges. So it is a forum of answers. It is a forum which addresses the issues we have in many parts of the world, and I'm sure that there will be an opportunity to deliver something which is pragmatic and to the benefit of all. The main activities will be, we'll have a summit of heads of state and government and major international institutions. We'll also have an event to launch a historic political message and initiative with a view to catalyzing action, in particular for the rapid achievement of universal access to water and sanitation. There will also be an event to launch the UN World Water Report 2022 and major publications on water security, and in which we'll have Senegal, the World Bank, and other partners. We'll have also high-level meetings. We'll have an opening of the exhibition and the presentation of international water prizes, Hassan II, Hassan II, and Kyoto. And as already mentioned, the forum will be very inclusive, and that will involve ministers, parliamentarians, the private sector, civil society, but above all will allow citizens to share their concerns by giving them the opportunity to exchange with decision makers in a participatory manner so that no one is left behind. And to add on what has been done so far, Senegal has set up an initiative called Dakar 2022 Initiative, which aims during the preparatory phase to select relevant, innovative, and replicable projects producing short-term results with a sustainable impact around the forum's priorities. And as of the 30th of September 2021, we have already 147 applications from 54 countries from all continents, which have been received by my capital. And 58 projects have already been labeled, and the process will continue until December 2021. The submission platform for the labeling of projects is online since January 2022. Finally, slide 4, you can consult the forum's dedicated website, which you can read here, or contact the forum secretariat or the Senegalese mission here. All the information related to that are here shown on this slide, and documents related to logistics, travel, and program will be available soon, and you'll be informed in due course. So Senegal is known, the second name of Senegal is the land of Teranga. Teranga means hospitality. So the land of hospitality will be very honored and to welcome you for very fruitful outcome at that forum. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. Now I invite His Excellency Mr. Francisco Duarte Lopes, Permanent Representative of Portugal, to talk about 2022 UN Ocean Conference. That is one of the opportunities also for the member of Group of Friends of Water to utilize. I know that there will be another regional preparatory meeting held on the margins of this important conference. You have the floor, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you, dear Johnny Beck. Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends. As many of you know, Portugal is committed to organizing and hosting a high-level symposium on water in the margins of the second UN Ocean Conference, which will take place in Lisbon from the 27th of June to the 1st of July 2022. And that was supposed to take place 2 years ago in 2020, as you also know. By bridging SDG 6 and SDG 14, we hope to contribute to the preparatory process for the UN Water Conference in 2023. With the recent decision of the General Assembly on the new dates for the Ocean Conference, conditions are now in place to proceed with the preparations of this symposium. And we are very willing to closely cooperate with our neighbors and our partners to make sure we have an effective result from this symposium. As we enter the decade of action to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals, and when we all aim at breaking down silos, especially at the UN, hosting the high-level symposium on water in parallel with the UN Ocean Conference is also an opportunity to bring the water and the ocean communities together. This event will, we hope, allow to strengthen coordination from source to sea, so the whole cycle of water, to promote integrated cross-sectoral approaches on the linkages between SDG 6 and SDG 14, and to accelerate progresses on implementing both of them. We also aim to maximize synergies across the water and ocean sectors and to produce co-benefits towards both climate mitigation and climate adaptation. At this high-level symposium on water, we will bring together political leaders and other decision makers dealing with both freshwater and saltwater to discuss water management in an integrated manner. It will also be an opportunity to strengthen the role of water and the ocean in the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda and of the Paris Agreement. And it will offer also a platform for the presentation of successful best practices and stimulate innovative partnerships that bring together the water and the ocean communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your remarks. We have a new ambassador of Egypt with us, His Excellency Osama Abdel Khaled. Let me extend our sincere congratulations to him as well on his appointment as a permanent representative of Egypt to the UN, and welcome him to the group of Friends of Water. His Excellency will talk about the 4th edition of the Cairo Water Week, which is a series of conferences held in Cairo. The floor is yours, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, distinguished chair, my dear friend, Ambassador Johnny Beck Hikmat, for inviting me for this very important meeting of the group of friends. We're pretty much happy to join all the distinguished colleagues in this very important meeting. I have to start by appreciating your valuable role as chair and the work of Tajikistan in leading this group, as well as the UN Water Decade track in general. I would like also to appreciate to highly appreciate all the informative briefings and messages delivered earlier in this meeting. Egypt truly attaches great importance to the UN Decade for Action on Water and Sustainable Development and the UN Midterm Review Conference due in 2023 as the first UN Conference on Water since 1977. This importance emanates from the indispensability of water to human beings as the only and the sole source of life, food, and agriculture. In addition, water must be, as we have always been saying, a vehicle for peace, common understanding, and regional integration. Distinguished colleagues, our meeting today is pertinent indeed, as Cairo will host from 24th to 28th this month the 4th edition of the Cairo Water Week under the theme Water, Population, and Global Challenges, Global Changes, Challenges, and Opportunities. Cairo Water Week is organized under the patronage of Honorable President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of the Republic of Egypt. The week is considered one of the biggest water-related events in Africa and the Middle East, bringing together a broad range of high-level officials, experts, and other stakeholders to discuss the most recent trends related to water. In its 4th edition, it will witness a series of political, technical, and legal discussions and activities focusing on the impact of overpopulation and climate change on management of transboundary rivers. Moreover, Egypt took the initiative to include the 2021 Cairo Water Week within the framework of the preparatory meetings toward the 2023 Midterm Review Conference in order to contribute to the discussions ahead of the conference and provide substantive input to it. To this end, a high-level segment will be organized during the week titled Policy Dialogues in Water-Scarce Countries for Achieving SDGs. The segment comprises sessions on water scarcity and its challenges in transboundary context, water and climate nexus, and water innovative finance. Cairo Water Week 2021 will be held in a hybrid format. We're pleased that among the vast number of participants at ministerial and senior officials level, we have His Excellency Mr. Gilbert Hongbu, Chair of the UN Water, and His Excellency Liu Zinmin, USG for Economic and Social Affairs, UNDESA. Distinguished colleagues, let me stress that my country is committed to achieving SDG 6 in all its aspects and on equal basis. This includes access to safe water and sanitation, improving water quality, addressing water scarcity, and implementing integrated water resources management, including through transboundary cooperation. In this juncture, Egypt is a strong advocate to the peaceful settlement of disputes related to the use of transboundary water courses through binding agreements achieved through negotiations, mediation, and resorting to regional and international organizations. We will continue our work within the steering committee of the Group of Friends on Water, as well as in other UN fora, to advocate the water agenda and bring it the required attention. I do thank you, distinguished Chair, Ambassador Johnny Bek.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Abdul Khalik, for sharing your country's perspective. Now, I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Kimura Tetsuya, Ambassador Kimura Tetsuya, Deputy Permanent Representative of Japan, who will talk about another very important regional preparatory meeting on the margins of Asia Pacific Water Week. You have the floor, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador Hikmat of Tajikistan. Excellencies, thank you very much for convening the Group of Friends on Water. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude to all the speakers for their inspiring inputs. Many challenges confronting us, such as climate change, COVID-19, and water-related issues, require our collective efforts. Water-related disasters are also becoming more serious in many parts of the world. Every country and region is connected through a dynamic water cycle. What happens in one part of the world affects other regions, environments, and economies. Today, I would like to introduce the 4th Asia-Pacific Water Summit to be held in Kumamoto, Japan, from the 23rd to the 24th of April 2022. The summit is a forum for leaders from the Asia-Pacific region to gather in order to deepen the awareness of water-related issues and to encourage resource mobilization and concrete action. The theme of next year's summit is Water for Sustainable Development, Best Practices in the Next Generation. The theme of next year's summit is, as I said, Water for Sustainable Development, Best Practices in the Next Generation. The discussion will focus on concrete actions to achieve the water-related SDGs. It is expected that the leaders of the Asian Pacific region will make commitments to the realizing quality growth toward a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable society. At the last summit meeting in 2017, the Yangon Declaration was issued to enhance water security by protecting and managing water resources more effectively, as well as to take a leading role in the implementation of the International Decade of Action. The last declaration envisioned a pathway to upscale water security in the region and expresses determination in the areas of sound water cycle management, governance inclusive development, financing the implementation of water-related SDGs, and water cooperation at all levels. We hope that the next summit in Japan will build upon the previous discussions and contribute to the midterm review of the water action decade by reflecting the wisdom of our region. The summit will also share the long-standing efforts of the host city, Kumamoto, in conserving groundwater, as well as its effort to recover from the 2016 Kumamoto earthquake. We look forward to discussing the way forward for the next generation, in particular towards UN 2023 Water Conference. I thank you very much.
Mr. Ambassador, for your intervention. This was the end of our sort of the briefing, which included both regional preparatory meeting, but we also had the briefing by our two co-chairs. Now, before we move to the Q&A session, I have an initial request for the floor from my distinguished colleagues, members of the steering committee, permanent representative of Switzerland, Finland, Ethiopia, Thailand, and the representative or permanent mission of France. So I really encourage our participants to use this opportunity to use to the presence of our two co-chairs and indicate in the next session your willingness to participate in the Q&A session, and please either send us your questions or indicate your willingness to engage. So I would like now to give the floor to Her Excellency Pascale Christine Beyerswil, the permanent representative of Switzerland to the UN. You have the floor, Madame Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Chair, Excellencies, dear colleagues. Switzerland is strongly committed to advancing on SDG 6 targets and to supporting the implementation of the goals of the water decade. And we are therefore also grateful to our fellow colleagues from the Group of Friends Steering Committee, and of course, in particular to the chair, today's chair, Tajikistan, our dear colleague, Joni Beck. And I wanted also to warmly welcome the two new PRs from Germany and Egypt into this family, and thank all briefers for their great briefings. Let me make 3 points. Firstly, my country, and we would like to start by thanking there again the co-hosts and also the briefers today, but also UNDESA and UN Water for the ongoing efforts in ensuring that the conference will be as inclusive and action-oriented as possible. And like our colleague, former colleague, and now USG Courtney also underlined, this is a historic second UN Water Conference, and it should be much more than a midterm review of the water decade. We think it should strive to be a turning point in our efforts to achieve a water secure world for all by setting clear objectives and establishing a roadmap for the years ahead, and maybe achieve, like someone said, a water pact. Switzerland believes that the 2023 conference should highlight the importance of a comprehensive approach to water that encompasses all relevant aspects, including its importance for human development, peace and security. We are convinced that governance issues, including cross-sector and transboundary collaboration, are key to achieving the water goals, and that these must be duly reflected in a structured interactive dialogue of the conference, like mentioned by my dear colleague from Germany, Antje Lendertse. Secondly, Switzerland would like to thank the Senegalese host, and I would like to thank also Sheikh for his briefing with regard to the 9th World Water Forum for the ongoing efforts, and this despite the COVID-19 related challenges. Here again, we call for an inclusive and action-oriented forum, as well as clarity as to the outcomes that should fed into the 2023 conference. A close collaboration with the UN process is therefore key, and you can also, of course, count on our support and participation. And thirdly, I would like to express Switzerland's concern regarding the large data gaps on SDG 6 indicators, particularly on integrated and transboundary water management, hampering efforts to direct interventions. Only about half of the world's countries have advanced laws, institutions, and budgets in place for sustainable and equitable management of water resources, and only in 24 countries are all transboundary waters covered by operational arrangements for water cooperation. Therefore, we very much welcome the focus of the World Water Day on groundwater in 2022, which has been mentioned by the Vice Chair of UN Water, Kelly Naylor. And since we think that we still do not have sufficient knowledge and data of the world's groundwater resources, and more importantly, we do not adequately manage aquifers. In this regard, Switzerland would like to underline the significance of the recent signing of the Transboundary Cooperation Declaration on the Senegal-Mauritanian Aquifer Basin in Geneva during the 9th session of the meeting of parties to the UNECE Water Convention. We congratulate Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Mauritania, and Senegal for their vision and exemplarity. The setting up of a permanent mechanism for the concerted management of the aquifer basin will be the first in West Africa and paves the way for strengthened collaboration on shared groundwater resources worldwide. I thank you very much for your attention, Thank you very much, Joni Beck. Switzerland is looking forward to collaborating with all of you to advancing SDG 6.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador, for your remarks. We are also looking forward to working with you. I have His Excellency Mr. Jukka Salovaara, the permanent representative of Finland. You have that.
Thanks so much, Joni Beck, and this is really a welcome discussion. And as expressed by the joint statement made by over 160 countries at the March 2021 high-level meeting on water, the 2023 conference is really a pivotal moment to accelerate implementation of SDG 6 and other water-related targets of the 2030 agenda. And we also appreciate that the briefing is open to the full membership of the UN, and because we really want to see open consultations on the themes for the interactive dialogues as agreed in the modality resolution. I really have some concrete asks for the organizers, and one is that it is essential that the conference addresses water scarcity in a meaningful way, because climate change is really driving increasing water scarcity across the world and threatens the health and well-being of people and communities. And it is also essential to include a discussion on a transboundary water cooperation to learn from the positive lessons where transboundary water cooperation has been successful. And we also would like to suggest that water and peace is addressed as a theme in the 2023 conference, given that water cooperation has a potential to act as a conducive factor for enhanced cooperation and building peace. I think that we all understand that the failure to effectively find solutions to water-related disputes carries a great risk of contributing to conflicts. We also want to emphasize that the human rights to water and sanitation, and this should really feature centrally in the discussions of the 2023 conference. And we also need to take a gender transformative approach to accelerating water and action with adequate participation of feminist groups, human rights defenders, and girls' organizations. And furthermore, the preparatory process of the 2023 conference should be science-based. We would particularly highlight the potential role of the WMO and in leading in the Water and Climate Coalition, and would suggest a close cooperation and inclusion of the World Meteorological Organization in the preparatory process. But again, thanks, Joni Beck, and thanks, colleague. This is really a great discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I now give the floor to His Excellency Taye Atske-Selassie, the PR of Permanent Representative of Ethiopia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. At the outset, let me express my profound gratitude to the permanent mission of Tajikistan and my brother, Ambassador Joni Beck, for steering the work of the group and for convening this virtual meeting. I'm really very much delighted that your predecessor, our brother Mohammed Amin, has been steering the work of this committee in a very able manner. And I can see that you are following his footsteps in a more energetic and more powerful way. And myself and my delegation will always cooperate with the work that you are doing. I'm also thankful for the remarks and briefings delivered by all distinguished dignitaries. As we look forward to the midterm review of the Water Action Decade in 2023, we have been given an indication how important it is to work for the achievement of SDG 6 targets. It is also important to note that much remains to be done towards achieving the SDG 6 targets, particularly in Africa. The gaps in the targets across all indicators are concerning, and it's indeed dismally off track and very much discouraging. For my country, Ethiopia, the agenda of water far exceeds the objective contained under SDG 6. Water is also the biggest source of energy. We believe that the management of water and transboundary resources in general can be a source of exemplary multilateral cooperation. There are encouraging cases in this regard already, including in Africa. As we look forward to the midterm review, I want to highlight a couple of issues that we look forward the midterm review would put more emphasis into its work. The first one is that are we able in the review to look into the political will and commitment to address water issue in a more concerted, pragmatic way? Is it something that is that the midterm review would consider? Because so many conferences has been done. The Sendai framework is one, the Dushanbe water process is another one, which is indeed monumental in many ways. But with this review also, midterm review include, is there a real political commitment in addressing critical water issues that particularly many developing countries are facing? Secondly, would there be some showcase successfully that shows partnership of all the stakeholders in addressing water issues, so that we can learn from other experiences and examples? What does the midterm review look into when it comes to at the grassroots level, where particularly in many developing countries, millions of people, as USCG Courtney earlier mentioned, billions of people don't have access to water. So what does that really, when we review this, what does it reflect towards that? What does it mean to the average people in the rural Africa, Asia? Would it consider also that in our deliberation? And probably, and maybe lastly, we have put the global accelerator frameworks are already there. The 5 accelerators, I mean, the financing, data and information, capacity development, innovation, and governance are there. How does the midterm review is going to look into these critical issues that the world community is expecting to have more impact on water management? These are, of course, some of the points that my delegation is looking forward to see in the deliberation of the midterm review. Finally, as preparation for the Water Action Decade midterm review gathered pace, Ethiopia will continue its active participation in water-related forums, including the regional platforms that are mentioned by our distinguished regional coordinators. Thank you very much. My sincere appreciation.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and thank you for your kind words addressed to my predecessor and myself. Next on my list is Excellency Mr. Supark Tura, the Chargé d'Affaires of the Mission of Thailand. You have the floor.
Thank you for giving me the floor. I just wanted to take the floor briefly to express Thailand's appreciation for the organization of the meeting today and also to welcome and congratulate Ambassador Johnny Bek of Tajikistan on your appointment and continued leadership on the issue of water. As members of the steering committee of the groups of Friends of Water, Thailand views the briefing today from various Friends of Water as very helpful in creating synergies between the different efforts on water in the UN and from various regions, as well as for us to prepare for the upcoming processes. We believe that it is important to emphasize the importance of water in other meetings and processes in this super session on the environment, as said by the PGA, as we have seen the key role of water in curbing the spread of COVID-19 in these past years, as well as its relevance in the achievement of the 2030 agenda as a whole. So in this regard, Thailand looks forward very much to continue working with all of you in order to ensure that water is kept high in the agenda of the UN, leading to and beyond the 2030 conference. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Now I turn to Ambassador Mohammed Amir Khan, Deputy Permanent Representative for the Permanent Mission of Pakistan. You have the floor, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you, Excellency, for giving me the opportunity to speak and for organizing this very timely and important event. And also thanks to USG Rattray and Vice Chair Ann Neller for their very insightful remarks and other speakers as well. Sustainable water management is one of the most formidable challenges of our time. It's both economic good and SDG accelerator. It is also at the core of sustainable development and pivotal for poverty eradication and economic growth around the world. Delivering on SDG 6 and guaranteeing water and sanitation for all is a complete win for the 2030 agenda on sustainable development. The COVID-19 pandemic has also highlighted the critical importance of water. That's why we cannot hope to build forward better and greener without addressing water issues. Precisely for these reasons, Pakistan attaches high importance to water. Our engagement and commitment with water-related goals, including SDGC, is long-standing and unwavering. We have launched Recharge Pakistan, a project which envisions better climate resilience, water and food security, and sustainable livelihood through eco-salt-based adaptation by 2050. We have also understand the importance of water and glacier for our ecosystem. Pakistan has also announced its support for the initiative of Tajikistan to declare 2025 as the year of glaciers. To implement these goals, we need to keep a close eye not only on SDG 6, but also on other issues of land degradation, desertification, and drought. Climate change is altering pattern of weather around the world, causing droughts in some areas and floods in the other. When the land degrades, it loses its natural ability to absorb, filter, and store water. Restoring degraded land and fighting land degradation, coupled with sustainable water management, are therefore key to ensure availability of water by all by 2030. We must address the issue of water in a timely and holistic manner. Multilateral and regional cooperation is critical for achieving SDG 6 and other water-related goals. In addition to this, there is also an urgent need to scale up investment in sustainable and resilient water infrastructure to ensure access to water for all. It is my sincere hope that this meeting will contribute to preparations for UN Water Conference in 2023 and will accelerate the implementation of the water-related goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you, Excellency, for allowing me to speak on this.
I thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your intervention. Now I would like to give the floor to the His Excellency Permanent Representative of Iran, Ambassador Majid Takhti Rawanji. You have the floor, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Johnny Bek. I'm very happy to be in this meeting. It's been a very interesting and productive meeting. I really appreciate your personal effort in this regard. And I also want to thank the other briefers for this meeting. This has been an interesting meeting in a sense that gives us, first, more information, and second, the way that we need to prepare ourselves for the upcoming UN Water Conference in 2023. So we have almost 1.5 years before that important water conference, and we hope that we can get together again. As a member of the group of friends steering committee, Iran attaches great importance to this conference. As you are aware, we are located in an area where we are facing dramatic climate change effects, including with regard to water shortages. Water crisis has reached a severe level in many parts of the world, including in Iran, and we think that we need to work together. SDG 6 is of paramount importance to all countries, which requires collective global as well as regional efforts. I just wanted to highlight 3 points, which I believe need to be thoroughly discussed and paid attention to. One is the issue regarding internal migration during water stress, how the international community can deal with this issue, how regional countries can work together to address this problem. The other issue is that while we are witnessing water supply, the declining, the water supply which has declined, and at the same time water demand has dramatically increased, how the international community can address this problem. How can we work together to lower the increase in water demand at the regional as well as at the international level. The last point is cooperation in the field of water. As our colleague Yuka said, this is a very important issue that can provide all of us with the opportunity to get closer to each other. If we can work together in the area of water, that can even bring about more peace and more tranquility, between neighboring countries. So again, both at the regional as well as international levels, how countries can work together to provide more cooperation in the field of water. Once again, I wanted to thank you and the other colleagues who have been a part of this exercise today, and we hope that we can meet again and address this important issue. I thank you very much, Johnny.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your intervention and for your questions. Now I would like to invite Mr. Olivier Richer, Head of the Development and Climate Unit, the Permanent Mission of France.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the floor, and thank you very much for convening this very important meeting. I won't be very long, but I just wanted to highlight the importance of the preparatory process, because you know, like me, that the preparatory process is as important as the conference itself. And we will have many water-related meetings to prepare this important conference. One of them was mentioned in Senegal next March, and France is very pleased to be a partner of Senegal to organize the 9th World Water Forum. I would like to echo as well what was said by the Special Envoy of the Netherlands and the Ambassador of Finland. We think that it's very important to be inclusive and open, and to have all the relevant stakeholders around the table, especially in all the sectors related with water, agriculture, industry, and so on. And we also think that we need a broad agenda oriented to the implementation of the objectives of the 2030 agenda as well. So I wanted to support what has been said before. Thank you very much.
I thank distinguished representative of France for his remarks. Now we will gradually move to the Q&A session. and our briefers already heard some of the reflections and some of the questions, especially coming from dear friend, permanent representative of Iran and some other colleagues. I have representative of Afghanistan with a question, and then we can go back to our briefers for the answers and reflections. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looks like my camera doesn't work. I'm trying to get in, but I'm not permitted. I really don't know what would be the.
We can perfectly see you. You go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, let me thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for organizing this very important meeting today, and let me thanks to the panelists and the briefers for their excellent briefing and presentations in today's meeting. Thanks to Tajikistan and Netherlands for leading the process of the International Conference on Water, which we will have this conference soon in 2023. Afghanistan, as member of the group, following the process since the beginning and participated and contributed to the modality resolution last year. As highlighted by the panelists and previous speakers, the importance of water and the role of water in achieving the important goals and targets of the SDGs, particularly Goal 1 and Goal 6 on poverty eradication in agriculture. Countries in special situations such as LDCs, LLDCs, and SIDS are facing more challenges in access to clean water, water management, water and sanitation, particularly access to the relevant technology related to the water. Countries in special situation, particularly those are facing more challenges, like they are LDCs, LLDCs, and conflict affected, facing more challenges, will not be able to achieve the goals and targets without the global support and regional cooperation. In conclusion, I want to assure you, Mr. Chairman, of our full support and looking forward for the successful organizing the 2023 International Conference. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished representative of Afghan. Now I would like to go back to our briefers. Let me remind you that we have co-chairs, the representative of the Netherlands, Tajikistan, but also representative of DESA. If you have any further questions, please indicate so. First, perhaps we can start with Mr. Ovink. Please, some of your reflections.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Ambassadors, Your Excellencies. First of all, thank you for your outspoken commitment to not only make the conference a success, but highlighting the importance of the preparatory process. I think in working towards this meeting, working together with my dear colleagues from Tajikistan, with UN DESA and UN Water, we as partners have agreed that that preparatory process be as inclusive, collaborative, comprehensive as possible. So I think that will be a burden on all of us, but definitely a responsibility we take very serious. And we also call on you to work with us in turning this preparatory process into a real inclusive and collaborative one. That means in the modalities resolution, different preparatory meetings were already mentioned, but an outreach to all of you and your partners around the world, across the regions, across stakeholders and partners, to work towards that process. As Sultan already mentioned, the formal and informal aspect of that, making the right connections will be of critical importance. That is the one. The other is the scope and aim, inclusivity, comprehensive reach, the full width, depth and reach of the 2030 agenda, as is addressed in the modalities resolutions, will be addressed in this preparatory process and therefore will come forward to that conference. And that means collaboration across all sectors, interests, scales and borders and boundaries, as being addressed by many of you. So partnership, collaboration in its informal as well as institutional capacity will be of utmost importance. A third thing that was mentioned, and that is also in the context of the Water Action Decade, and Germany addressed the mix with the UN Global Acceleration Framework. One of the aspects of that is data, and I think it was Ambassador of Finland that stressed the importance of information, data, accessibility to all, but also data that is of highest quality and relevance. And I think working with the many initiatives we now see from around the world, coming from WMO and their Climate and Water Partnership and many more, will make it possible to also turn the conference and the preparatory process, as well as the process afterwards, into a successful dialogue. And last, and then I'll leave it to Sultan because there were many more questions before I use up all the time, is showcasing best examples, I heard you say, because how can we get an idea on how to bridge the gap that is so massive? And I think that is of true importance too. So bringing our best initiatives, examples, partnerships across the decade and across the acceleration framework to the conference, examples that in themselves might not be able to change the world, but as a collective effort are inspirations to be scaled up and replicated, and therefore then have the opportunity for all of us to change course, I think will be of critical importance too. And the last part of that is, of course, the combination between best practices, of course it's governance, of course it's data, of course it's capacity, of course it's innovation, but it is also about finance and scaling up finance in the context of SDG 6 and all other water-related goals. So thank you all for your commitment, your ideas and questions. We stand ready to work with you at all means and at all levels to ensure that together we can deliver on the promises we made in the context of the Water Action Decade, in the context of the 2030 agenda, moving towards 2023 and beyond. So thanks very much. I hand back the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ovink. Now I'd like to turn to Mr. Sultan Rahim Soda for his comments, reflections. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Excellency, and I would like also to thank honorable ambassadors for their interest, for sharing the comments and suggestions in terms of the preparatory process and the conference itself, and the most important, the commitments to move forward with us, with the co-chairs, to make this conference successful, because it's really very important for all of us, and it's a good moment which we have to use for our next generation, basically. And my friend Hank already mentioned a number aspects related with the questions from honorable ambassadors. I would like to add in terms of the themes which have been provided or suggested by distinguished ambassadors for the conference itself, including the water scarcity, water shortages, transboundary cooperation, water and peace, political will, and also the inclusion of the SDG 6 in global acceleration framework, and how the midterm review could will look into this framework and to make the analysis. To move forward. So, and I have to say that in terms of the interactive, the themes for the interactive dialogues, you might know that the modalities resolution is saying that the proposal for themes for these dialogues will be prepared in a background note by the Secretary General of the conference, and we are we as co-chairs, of course, are involved in this process too. And definitely the suggested topics are very important, especially taking into account the current situation when the climate change impacting the water resources and the water availabilities has basically the tendency of the decreasing in the world. And it's really important. I think the case of this year, the drought impacted, especially in our region, the Central Asia countries, Iran, they were affected very strongly by the drought of this year. And I have heard also from the news that there's some expectation that the drought could be the next pandemic in the world even. So I mean that it should be in the focus of the conference, and we will do our best, of course, to include the themes in the themes of the interactive dialogues of the conference. And there was also an important point regarding the grassroots levels. I mean, to hear the voices from the grassroots level to be brought into the global agenda. And I think that the 9 World Water Forum will be the first opportunity for that in this regard, because one of the main priority themes of the 9 World Water Forum is a rural development, basically. And I think that is a case when the people from the rural areas, their voices will be heard. And the Dushanbe 2022 Water Conference also will provide this kind of platform and opportunity, because the conference program will include, in parallel with the thematic session or panels, also the forums, providing an opportunity for different groups and the regions to discuss all related issues in terms of the water decay, in terms of SDGs and other water related goals, and of course to move forward to the UN 2023 Water Conference. And that, as it was said, the Dushanbe conference will be a stepping stone for the UN 2023 conference. And we are committed also to bring all together within the Dushanbe conference, to bring these voices also to the platform of the 2023 conference. So once again, I would like to thank all honorable ambassadors for their commitments to join us in this process. And once again, we are expressing our willingness to join hands with you and with all stakeholders to make this conference really watershed moment for the world community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rada. I really would like to thank both our co-chairs. Since we don't have any other questions left, it means our co-chairs have done the task very well by briefing us so well that we have none questions left to ask. So I'm pretty sure that this is just the beginning. This is the first dialogue. We will have many more in upcoming years, especially the next year. And the important thing is that there will be another opportunities for the member states to engage with our distinguished co-chairs, and from our side and from both Netherlands as our distinguished colleagues already elaborated on. We are ready to work with all the members of Group of Friends of Water, but also beyond. Therefore, I thank our today's briefers, the co-chairs and DESA for their time and for joining us, but most importantly for detailed information that they have provided to us about the preparatory process of the UN 2023 Water Conference. This was, as I said, just the beginning of the series of dialogue that the co-chairs intend to have with the member states and other stakeholders in the lead up to the conference. I think once again, it was great to have you both with us and looking forward for another fruitful and constructive dialogues with you. Thank you. Dear colleagues, dear friends of water, we have any other business as a next agenda item. And if you don't, if you don't have any other issues to discuss, then I would like to conclude this meeting and thank you all for supporting both Netherlands and Tajikistan in conducting this meeting and also being part of this active UN water family. Thank you very much for your time and have a great day. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Johnny Beck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.